Hello and welcome to my next tutorial. It's Nicola with you from ArchPro. In this tutorial I will show you what are the top 5 mistakes any QGIS user, no matter of his expertise, can make. And they are very common. The first one is the update selected, update all option when you are editing a layer. Let's say we want to edit some zones. First I will leave only the zones I need. Let's say I want to edit this one. And I want these to turn into something else. Let's first enable editing, bring them on top, and just change the type of the zone. In this case the field is ZABBR and I will change it to something else. And the correct way to do it is to click update selected, because it will update only these 3 features. But in a hurry, and when you've made many other changes to this layer and you click update all, and you don't notice that, and you continue doing something, it can have devastating effects. You can see that all of my features turned into, let's show you, all of my features turned into this zone. And basically, if you are very far ahead, and you've done many operations not noticing that, it can greatly affect, of course, your layer symbology and your features. Of course, in this case I will just click Ctrl+Z and no harm is done. But be very careful, because it can have the most devastating effects on your files and on your project. The second mistake, and it's also very dangerous, but it can be very subtle also, because not many users remember when they've made the settings, is when you've locked the layers used in a map canvas, and you want to change the symbology, or you change the assortment of layers, and they simply don't change, and you think you've done your job, but it's to no avail. I will just create a layout now. Let's call it empty composer. Alright, add new. Let's start with mistakes layout, and let's select the map and add new map like that. Let's see, the scale is 50,000. Right. Let's increase the page size and 25,000. And I will load my first layer state, which is with all the zones and the properties of this municipality. Let's go again to our layout, and you can see it updates since I've loaded my new layers. And I lock layers and lock even the states for layers. Why is that? Because if I want to preserve the layers, I will do just that. But if the layout is used in multiple cases and with different types of layers and different symbology of layers, it's simply a mistake. And I've made it many times, and I'm sure many of you can also say that. And let's see what the problem is. Let's say we want to export this layer. It's not a problem, because that's the layer state I want. But if I change the layer state, Alright, and I want to update the same layer. Let's see, and I think that it's regenerated itself with the new layers. I would presume that the result will be correct with what I see in the project canvas. Let's check. Result 2, I will call it. Alright, and let's load it. See if the result is as in the project or as in the layout. I will just load it right now. Mistakes and result 1. Result 2 in this case. It preserved the symbology of the layer, which is this one, not the project. You can see the project looks completely different. And you can check that, of course, by refreshing, and you will see that nothing changes. And then you must go here and unlock. More subtle is when you have not changed the layer state. In this case, I'm still in this layer state, which is the same as here, but I've changed somehow the symbology or the color of some layers. Let's say these blue stripes are wanted to be brown or green. Let's say green. Apply. It changed, and I want to change their transparency to 40. And if you are not familiar with these lock styles for layers, you will presume that when you regenerate it will change, but in this case it didn't. It just lowered the transparency, but not the color. And when you export, you will see that result 1, the color is simply blue, and like the music artist, simply blue with less transparency, but the color didn't change. And that's very dangerous mistake, especially when you're in a hurry, and it's very subtle, as I said, because if you take over some project you are not familiar with, and the author has checked these settings, you're in big trouble, big trouble. Alright, let's move to the third most common mistake, and it's also dangerous, especially if you use the Atlas feature quite often, and it concerns the legend and scale bar of the Atlas feature layouts. Let's create an Atlas, of course. I will use this layout again. I will add a legend. Maybe I will, of course, not set it to auto dates. I will delete state 2 legend. And I may need to wrap text on, and I will set bigger symbols and bigger fonts. Group text will be bold, of course. This is something I've done in many previous videos. I will just do it without many explanations. Title. Let's say we want to change also the scale bar. And I presume that you've done this mistake, but I will do it again to show you. You type the scale here. Let's say 1 to 25,000, as the map is in 25,000. And you simply make it bold and bigger. Alright, and you type the name of the drawing. It will be connected with the Atlas, of course. So I will need a bigger font, say 24, bold. And let's create the Atlas, of course. Atlas generation, generate an Atlas, coverage layer will be urban places. Hidden or not hidden doesn't matter. And the export options will be urban places. Let's go to, and it's in values, name of the village. Of course I will add lower dash, and that's it. Alright, and this one will also be connected with the Atlas. Let's say zoning and the village. Not QGIS. This simply tricked me, and I will have to be more precise this time. Alright, and let's generate the Atlas, and it says zoning and the village. Of course we will say on the map controlled by Atlas, and we will change this scale. Let's say it's 100 units. Alright, we will set the map scale to controlled by Atlas and predefine scale best fit. Alright, and I will export now, but first I will make let's say I want to add some other items and move this and rename the items. Alright, this one, and I want to name any more, and we want to mark only show items inside current Atlas feature. And let's export all images as all Atlas layouts as images. Choose 250, and it will be quick. I will load them. Output and urban places. Let's check now. We have zoning for changing, and the legend changes. But since the legend is not redefined, or it's not moved, sorry about that, and you don't know where the layout finishes, and some of the text is simply dropped. and also the scale. The scale is written and it doesn't change with the layout. How to fix this? First, the mistake with the scale, you must delete it, paste this one, and set it to numeric. And of course, increase the font size. And that's that. As for the layer feature, as you can see, this legend is completely in the layout, but in the other villages it is not. So you must first locate where it goes out of the layout and by what margin. You can see here it's out and it's the most expanded legend, and you must simply make it aligned and inside the layout. And now I will just rename this one, and let's export it again. Atlas as images. Choose, and it will overwrite our previous files. And let's check. As you can see, the scale changes because the layout has floatable scale, and the legend is always inside the boundary of the layout. This was the third mistake, and let's move to the fourth mistake, and it again concerns the layouts and the attribute tables. But I will be more precise. It is about editing the layer and forgetting that you've set avoid intersections. Let's edit some random layer. I will edit again the zoning layer, and I presume that I will need, in this case, avoid intersections for zones, alright, and snapping to zones, and I will draw some zones randomly, like that, and even not exactly, and I will purposely go inside an existing zone polygon. Let's say this like that, and you will see I will just save the changes, and by moving this newly created feature, you can see that it's cut where it intersects existing zones, and also near the boundary of the town where it was, it's also cut because it's another zone. And it's very useful when editing a layer. And I update my layer state. Let's say I want to create another layer state, and I will first save this and load state 2, and I will not need zones. It's about the communications, and I will save it as communications. Alright, save. And I want to recreate an existing road. This one, let's open it to editing, and let's say I want to create a road like this, following this curve, and I'm in, of course, in the other layer state, which means I am not seeing the zones because I don't need them. And let's say you want the road to be third class, and press OK. also I want to, as you can see, it's very simply to edit, and also I want to expand the urban place. Let's say I want it to be like that here. Alright, but what happened? It created a holes, some holes, and when you dig further into the problem, you may see that despite changing what layers are visible, you didn't change the avoid intersection you used in your previous editing, and that created this result. I will delete this, and especially if you don't notice it very fast, it may have very profound effects on your project and on your features. And let's say we want to correct this problem. First, I have already saved my layer state, but as you can see, it saved the snap of the previous layer state. So I must go to snapping options, avoid intersections is turned off, and I will re-update my layer state. This shall fix it. I will simply expand my urban area like this. And it's not a problem. I may simply merge the features. And you can see the effect. Of course, I will not save it. But it solved the problem really quickly. Remember that when transferring from one layer state to another, snapping options is also transferred usually by default, and you must be very careful about that. And the final mistake, it's really not quite a big mistake, but it may cost you a lot of time to do it manually, is not using layer state or using incorrect layer states. The layer combination, or as I call them layer states, are a very useful plugin in QGIS because they simply change the complete picture quickly. You load, unload layers, change symbologies if you have different layers, and so on. If I have to do it manually and I have many different layers from different folders, it's quite difficult to remember first which I will need, and to turn them on and off correctly. And furthermore, if we go to the mistakes layout, I will have to do different layouts and lock layers, as I did in my first mistake I showed you. Lock layers and lock styles for layers in order to make the layout remember which layers are needed, not the layer state. Because the correct way to do it is to change the, let's say I have communications and I want to change it to zones. I simply go to zones layer state and refresh. Without, of course, locking the layers. Refresh, and that's about that. It's fixed. And the legend, as you notice, also updates based on the turned on layers. And I highly recommend to you to download the plugin. It's in Manage and Install Plugins, and you can find it by going to the L. Installed. It's called, let's find it. I expect it to be layer combinations, but you never know. Yes, here it is, layer combinations. And in your case, of course, I may, it's experimental, but you can download it anyway. So that was the top 5 mistakes often made by QGIS users. It's Nicola from ArchPro signing off and wishing you a happy and inspirational week.